What is up, my fellow anti-racists, and welcome to a very anti-racist episode of Is It Kino. We are both wearing black in solidarity with our black brothers, that's right! Black lives matter and no other lives do. I'm Simian Jimmy, joined as always by the DEI expert, Eggy Eggman Rodriguez.
I mean, listen, there's a guy in the film, he made a great book called Hate Crime Hoax, and I believe I'm literally blacker than he is, and he's actually black, so... As a great man once said, I'm blackity black and I'm black, y'all.
You will find most of the black people in the film that are grifting on race are about as light-skinned as humanly fucking possible. But we will get into that. Folks, if you don't know, there's this new Matt Walsh film that somehow made its way into theaters. Unlike What is a Woman, which I believe we all had to download illegally on a torrent website, he somehow convinced somebody to give this a wide release. Very interesting that this happened, and we went and saw this in theaters today at the earliest possible showtime on opening day, 1 p.m. on a Thursday. We were there because we don't have jobs, and some elderly folks were there as well. If you're wondering who is the audience for this movie, the answer is... white couples that both look like they're 70, if not 80 years old, and then also me and Aggie.
We're just that, but in spirit, and just both heterosexual males. But
we are old souls. I've heard that many times from nobody. So I can report, hey, if you were wondering, who is the Minecraft trailer for? Who could watch this and get any enjoyment out of it? Well, shockingly, the answer seems to be not 6-year-olds, but 66-year-olds. Because when the fucking Minecraft sheep did that bah! Screaming, old lady in front of us was fucking giggling. Jack Black says, I am Steve. Old man next to me started fucking giggling. How do they think this is funny? This is... What happened, Aggie?
Well, I think probably the sheep, that was probably just regular old dementia. But yeah. I'm thinking maybe they obviously have no idea what Minecraft is or who Steve is supposed to be. So when this obese, unkempt man, Jack Black, shows up and says, I'm Steve, they're probably thinking, oh, haha, yeah, that's like some random guys in the crazy world. It's the crazy world with the crazy sheep, and there's a random guy, but he's normal. But they have no idea what is even going on. I thought they'd be revolted by... Jason Momoa's appearance as a Discord moderator, but...
Jason Momoa looks like he's doing a Dora the Explorer cosplay. Looks fucking stupid as hell in that pink sweatshirt. I think Steve is just one of those, meme names for people who are lazy when Bob, Steve. Just generic names are funny to some people for some reason. And I assume, that guy thought the joke was he's doing an epic reveal for the name Steve. Which I guess is the joke, but also in Minecraft, that's his fucking name. Terrible, terrible. So old people are excited for the Minecraft movie and laughed. There's also a trailer, and I took a lot of notes in the theater because I did not want to forget any moment of this great documentary by Matt Walsh. There's a trailer for a movie I did not know was coming out by Dinesh D'Souza, who made the movie Trump Card that we did not review on Is It Kino because it did not get enough votes. But I guess he has a new movie called Vindicating Trump that he evidently filmed entirely in the last 2 months since July 13 when Trump got shot in the head. Because the movie's all about that, and Dinesh D'Souza's interviewing Trump, and he's like, hey, here's how I know it was not an insurrection. Because if you wanted one, it would have happened. And Trump's like, yeah, that's true. So I thought that was funny. So November might be nothing but Trump movies for Is It Kino, because there's that new The Apprentice, which is an anti-Trump movie starring Jeremy Strong as Roy Cohn. I'm very excited to see that, even though it's, both of these movies are propaganda for or against Trump, but it'll be nice for us to weigh both sides and get both movies in there.
Is It Kino is your most fair and balanced news source for election coverage, even though the episodes would come out after, but the movies would be seen beforehand. So make sure you're following all of our available social medias to kind of glean our opinions before the text gets released. Or just
become a member of the channel. You can see them at the exact moment I upload it. Okay, so that's our review of the previews of the trailers. Let's talk about the actual movie. And I'm going to assume most people are not going to see this, Aggie, so we'll have to just enlighten them on every little moment in this great film. When I went to review this on Letterboxd, and keep in mind, we saw this at the earliest possible showing, so hypothetically there should have been 0 reviews in there because these people have not seen it.
Mm-hmm.
It's automatically 90% half-star reviews from people who are just pissed that the movie exists. I think it's bullshit. I think if you're reviewing a movie you haven't seen, you should be stabbed in the stomach with a samurai sword. And every time we review a YouTuber movie, it's the same fucking thing. Ryan's World, the movie, had the same fucking 80% half-star reviews from people who hadn't seen it. Like, do these people get some sort of sexual gratification from telling everybody, I dislike this movie I have not seen? Am I not some sort of moral superiority here that I hate a film and I gave it a bad review even though I have not watched it?
Well, I mean, shout out to Letterboxd. My account has not been very active, but maybe I'm slightly vindicated. Shout out to Trump for maybe not using it as often as I should. And also that goes for people want me to come back to Twitter after I got banned and make a new account. Like every time I look, I have a burner account because you can't look at tweets without an account anyway, or the last couple years. So I have a burner account, and every time I look at it, I'm like, yeah, this website kind of sucks. Why would I ever want to like take any of my precious life that remains and do this? But there's a lot of people out there whose lives are, to be honest, they're what you might call the trolls. Their lives are miserable, and they want to just, basically be the gong smasher in the echo chamber and let everybody know that they have the wit to be an influencer and sell a couple t-shirts. And
give an opinion on something that they have not actually experienced. Maybe I should elaborate on my understanding of Matt Walsh. And it's a very lackluster understanding. I don't watch the Daily Wire. I've never seen anything. I don't know if Matt Walsh is a YouTuber or not. I don't know if this counts as a YouTuber movie. I have no clue. All I know is I saw his movie, What is a Woman? Gave it 2 stars out of 5, I believe. I thought it was fine, but not that great. He gave a very similar performance to this in the movie Lady Ballers. Like, he basically took his satire character from Lady Ballers and brought it to life and started interviewing black people in character. And that's basically what this movie is. It's almost like a Borat, a Bruno, if you will. Documentary where a guy's playing a character and people don't know what movie they're actually in for the interviews. And on that level, I got a lot of laughter out of this movie. Obviously, it's a very politically charged movie in terms of race relations and DEI stuff. And that's why, obviously, people are so sensitive and upset that the movie even exists. But as possibly the only person who's actually watched and reviewed it, I have to say it's not offensive. Like, at no point is there anything racist against any minority at all. It's just he's filming black people talk shit about white people and then asking them questions that make them look stupid. And that's about it. Hey, am I missing anything?
Well, I think also primarily there's definitely a contrast between a couple portions of the film. When it opens up, he says, "Listen, I'm a chud. How do I get woke?" Basically, and turns out you pay people who complain a lot of money. I mean, literally, you've probably seen these memes out. They've been out there. Like, I mean, I've been seeing these for years, but I've never actually witnessed any of this footage, which I think he maybe needed to have the pretense of a supportive film being made to maybe get in camera into some of these circles. But yeah, basically, there's a bunch of old, self-hating white people who.
A lot.
They pay out the nose with all their boomer bucks that they got a lot of that we don't have, to just go into a room and have a light-complected African-American woman say, "Listen, it's all your fault. You you need to stop absorbing all of your privilege and lording over us. It's time to, cough up some systemic changes." And then all the white people start crying and go, "Oh, that's right. I'm so glad I paid you $500 a minute for this."
Yeah, he's exposing a horrible grift, and I acknowledge the Daily Wire is also a bunch of grifters who would take advantage of elderly Republican people who think that the world is falling apart or whatever. I get it. But that doesn't mean it's okay when the same thing happens on the other end of the political spectrum. And for some reason, corporations have been convinced that they need these DEI experts to come in and explain to all the white employees why their scumfuck dog shit humans who should be ashamed of the color of their skin, and that they should get down on their knees for black boys and girls and service them with their mouths. And these people, it's a real fucking grift. For a 1 hour seminar, they're getting upwards of $5,000, $10,000 for this shit. And he tells you exactly how much all of these grifters are charging for their retarded little lessons, where we have white people sitting in a circle and she says, okay, let's do a 10-minute silent meditation to start this off. So there goes two grand. You spent $2,000 for this light-skinned black woman to tell the whiteys to shut up for 10 minutes. And then it's just a complete scam. 100% fucking scam. Nothing of value is learned. But now everybody could feel like they're less racist in a way.
Right. Well, then, and then the contrast is he goes through like the first probably third or so of the film around these quote unquote academics. They all have PhDs for some reason. He also gets a certification for $20 on a website. So that's probably where a lot of these doctorates are coming from.
A certification he's like a DEI expert, and he's showing off his laminated card to everybody.
Yeah, when actually at that point, that's a transition. After he talks to all these academics, he soaks up all the hashtag woke, and he goes and he pays $20 to get his laminated DEI expert card, and then he starts going out into the world. He's woke. He's time to meet up with the common people and see what they're talking about. And of course, absolutely nobody with any common sense has any idea what gibberish he's talking about with all these bizarre terms that nobody's ever heard of.
Yeah, it is funny. He takes all the retarded lessons of rhetorical nonsense that these academics give, and then he goes to like a biker bar in the South with Confederate flags up on the wall, pro-Trump shit everywhere, and he's using these rhetorical nonsense devices on these people, and they're just utterly confused. Like, what? Why would I need to reject my whiteness? What the fuck are you talking about? Like, I have lots of black friends, and we don't even talk about our race because we're just normal human beings. Aren't you the racist one who's completely obsessed with race and will not stop talking about it at any point? So, and then he's like also interviewing black people in the South, and they say literally word for word the same thing that the white people in the South said. Like, yeah, if you care about race this much, you're insane. Well, and we don't even think about it. So it's really just coastal elite, light-skinned black people grifting and trying to create problems that don't exist so that they can give $30,000 seminars for complete retards. Like, that is the grift. And it's a good one. If something is being forced upon you, it's because somebody's making a lot of money out of it.
That is so very true. And I will say, though, before he goes to the Southerners, he does a little bit of man on the street. He's able to communicate with a couple people, a group of like younger white guys who are just like trying to they basically say a little bit more of a pepped up version of what the older Southern guys say, like, oh, why you're the one who's making it a big deal. But then there's a mother and daughter sitting at a little cafe table, and she's like, well, I'm actually going for my master's in diversity or something like that. And he's like, hey, listen, I'm educated too with this $20 card. And she's like, yes, sweetie. Yeah, basically, like, so he did, there was at least somebody randomly in the wild who was, but that's also, once again, in the big city, and somebody who's probably making an above average income because they're gallivanting about in these schemes.
And I hear Shoji fucking screaming in the hallway like usual. Every single podcast, he can't go 40 minutes without some attention. So good for Shoji. There is a phenomenon I was unaware of, Aggie, called Race to Dinner, where only white women are allowed to attend, and basically they pay for the opportunity to eat dinner with a couple black women, and the black women throughout the meal just explain why white people are racist. Like, word for word, they're saying your whiteness makes you mentally retarded. Pretty like, what did she say? Like, it makes you lose your brain. Like, just saying the most racist things about white people you can imagine. And these white women are paying for the opportunity to do this.
Yeah, what would you call that? Masochism? Yeah,
it straight up is.
So in the scene, though, there's a woman.
You know this woman, so I want to hear this story.
I think you would pronounce her name Sarah Rao, or it's R-A-O's last name, I guess, I don't know, but she's an Indian woman who I didn't know she was still going, but because I just run back to Twitter, I was banned about 3.5 years ago, I believe, as I recall. But in the 2010s, especially the second half of that decade, this woman was notorious for being something of a lol cow. And a lot of her
This woman appears in the movie. She's one of the two minorities at the race to dinner thing.
And she kind of, so in the film, she's extremely bitter. I think she says that, like, all white privilege must be destroyed, down to whiteness must be destroyed. America
they straight up say
burn.
White people should not exist anymore. Like, we need to breed it out of society.
I think what was it? There was something about, like, so I remember somebody basically saying, "We are anti-white." Like, that's basically an actual quote from, like, one of these instructors, like, whiteness must be destroyed. But at this period of time, the late 2010s, she would basically go between, she would have these heinous tweets, like, basically threatening to kill, like, people in real life. But then she'd walk it back a little bit, and she'd be like, basically lusting over white men on her social media, and, like, what do I have that other women don't have? So she was really, like, the original femcel, like, the extremist femcel, and this was 10 years ago, so she's probably, like, in her 30s or almost 40 now, so
it's way too late for her to get a beautiful white man.
Now that men are probably out of the picture entirely, she's probably that nice lady that's with her. They probably got something going on together. I think she's about the most bitter, violent, not enough. Well, I'll leave that up to King Cobra. He talks about, like I was in a recent video about women who don't get a certain amount of something that makes them go crazy. Whatever the case is, I couldn't say for sure, but what I do know is that this woman was notorious for many years for being absolutely out of her mind, even amongst people who would otherwise agree with her. They found her to be a complete psycho. But, I mean, this is basically just her being paid to be sadistic towards mentally ill, elderly people. So that's probably what she's been waiting for her entire life. She might have been doing this for the last few years for all I know.
I mean, what a great grift. Like, all these, like, 10 white women will pay me to eat dinner with them and tell them why I hate their race and why they're, like, destroying the world with their whiteness. And she says in the movie, I tried being white for many years and it, like, drove me insane.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Just because you kind of pass because your skin's not dark? Like, Jesus, bitch.
I'm guessing it probably had to do with her trying to sleep with white men, which she would post about on Twitter all the time at that time and see about how it wasn't working. So I guess she was trying to follow the white way of life, the white standards, whatever that means, to try to link up with white Chad. But
Matt Walsh must not have known who this was, because that seems like crucial information. And that scene would have been so much funnier if after she goes on a rant about how she hates Whitey, we see all her tweets pop up, but why won't white men date me? You know? Like, I wonder why you hate Whitey so much, you fucking cunt. You vile fucking Indian cunt. And Matt Walsh, of course, as a man, he's not allowed to attend the dinner, so he's undercover as the waiter, and he keeps interrupting their nonsense by dropping the plates and shit and interjecting and saying, "Oh, I'm actually a DEI expert." And when I posted my review on Letterboxd, somebody who also actually did see the movie commented saying that I'm full of shit and 3 stars is way too high for this film. Narwhale, I'm not going to shit on you because you do seem to have an educated opinion. He says, nah, Matt Walsh does spend too much time talking for this movie to work. He spends half the time trolling instead of actually listening or meaningfully exposing them. I agree slightly. I think he does interject a little too often, and a lot of his improv is not necessarily that funny. He is just trolling a lot of the time. But, I mean, a good 60% of the movie is just people uninterrupted saying racist shit about white people. So, and he exposes the grift of how much they're getting paid for these, like, 30-minute interviews. So I think he did a good enough job. And Narwhal does have an extended review, but I don't know if we need to read all that.
Yeah, I'm gonna say, without having an educated opinion of having read his long review, he might be falling for what I think has sometimes hobbled what would be like a quote-unquote right-leaning film, where they need to, like, be all about the statistics, like, and they're lacking on the funny, they're lacking on some of the, like, let's just make this an actual movie instead of, here's what we need to go over these exact specific statistics over and over again. Because I think, I mean, at least for me, the how much money that they were getting paid did help solidify it, but the stuff they're saying is just so insane and stupid that it's like, I feel like it definitely gets the point across, where I don't even get, like, it's just an instinctual thing that I don't necessarily need, like, the fact check logic statistic to bring up to say this person's stupid.
Yeah, it's better to make it a full-fledged comedy movie, it really is just a comedy movie exposing the clown world. Like, these people are living in their own reality of clown world, and they're trying to make everybody else live in it too so that they can make more money on their grift. And Matt Walsh treats them like a clown. Like, he's fucking interrupting them with stupid little questions that should make them question their sense of reality, but clearly does not. I got a bunch of examples here. So he's interviewing a woman, and the woman is a white woman, and she says, "You should start making your babies anti-racist straight out of the womb. It's never too early." And she says, "Yeah, my 4-year-old daughter, who's white, for some reason she mostly likes the white Disney princesses, and that's really been a struggle in our household, and I'm trying to force the Princess and the Frog down her throat, blah blah blah." Matt Walsh says, "Oh, well, my daughter, her favorite Disney princess is Moana," and the white lady says, "Oh, that's so good." And Matt Walsh hits her with, "Yeah, but she wants to go as Moana for Halloween." And the white lady says, "Oh, no, you can't do that. You can't have your white girl appropriate the South Asian whatever culture. You can't have." So it's like, yeah, you just live in a fucking clown world, bitch. Like, every second of your life is hypocritical. You want the white girls to love all the other princesses, but they can't be them for Halloween. You're insane. You're insane. Telling a 4-year-old they can't be Moana. Just neck yourself.
Well, it's almost like the confusion is beneficial to them, though, because they can't really have it make sense, because if it made sense, then they wouldn't create these problems for themselves and it needs their extremely expensive services to interject and fix. So it really is just such a sickening racket through and through. And
there's a deep dive into the book White Fragility, which I'm not really familiar with. I've heard it in passing. And Matt Walsh does get an interview with the white woman who wrote it. I didn't even know it was written by a white person, but of course it was a white woman. It's never a white man doing this bullshit. And at one point in the interview, Matt Walsh has his black producer friend sit down between them. And, Matt Walsh is still in character as his DEI expert. And he says, "Hey, you know what? I think reparations need to be paid." And he pulls out his wallet and hands his friend like $17. And this insane fucking bitch woman who wrote White Fragility, like, she gets guilted into doing it. She goes to her purse and hands a random black man $30 as reparations. Like, these people are fucking nuts.
I also like at the beginning of when he sits, I didn't know if he was going to he kind of has a build up to it where he's like psyching himself up in the mirror, like, all right, just Miss D'Angelo. He's like going through these different like monologues to try and make himself seem legitimate, because she's like the final, every single person he's talked to up to this point who's under the woke umbrella just lauds her. She was #1 bestseller multiple years.
She's like the final boss of the movie.
Yeah. And I think the reason why she didn't walk off right away, he asked the question basically like, who do you work, or like, who benefits from your services? I'm curious, or whatever. And she's kind of antsy about it. But I think she probably, in order to get the $15,000 that was allegedly paid, that she probably had to be on some kind of contract to do a complete interview here. So she kind of gets fidgety, and she like looks over the side and she's like, "Oh, can I really say, like, I don't want this to get taken the wrong way. Oh, well, Amazon, Google,
Snapchat,
Netflix, and Snapchat. Yeah, they all work with my consultation to educate them." I'm like, oh, that's very interesting how all these very large and influential companies are basically
giving you millions of dollars for horrible worldviews to force onto the general public.
The kind that literally the first time that somebody asks you, like, you can't even stand behind it. Like, you have to look over and be like, "Oh, can I say, like, I can't be held responsible for what might happen, but yeah, this is who, this is what I've built my entire career off of," and so it makes it immediately seem very weaselly and suspicious. And then the fact, where she gets guilted in, she's like, "Well, I'm not really about that. I'm really about like systemic help to really, help everybody and not just this one guy." And Matt Walsh is like, "The system has failed us. I'm a real comrade. Here's the money. Why wouldn't you do it?" And she's like,
"Yeah, we can't wait for the system to catch up. We have to do what we can do right now." And that's what guilts her into just giving a random black guy $30. And then like they show how much she got paid, and then they deduct 30 from it. A lot of funny things in the movie. that people are just going to reject outright for no reason. At one point, Matt Walsh and his black friend are outside the Washington Monument getting people to sign a petition to change it to from George Washington Monument to George Floyd Monument, and he's getting hundreds of signatures, and all these white people like, oh yeah, I think it's about time that slave-owning racist got replaced with a real patriot. It's exposing how insane so many people are when it comes to race. During the roundtable discussion where some extremely light-skinned black chick got paid like 30 grand for the 1 hour, she asked the white people, when I say the phrase white people, what comes to mind? And they're all like, oh, it makes me cringe. It makes me cringe on the inside to think of myself as a white people. Like, you people should all be killed. Like, I'm so serious. Like, you don't need to live if you're that. Like, talk about white fragility. Jesus, acknowledging the color of your skin makes you cringe? Fucking cringe straight to hell, please.
Yeah, it's, obviously politics is a spectrum, but the fact that there's so many severely mentally ill people wandering around, and at this point, they're young enough. I don't think it was just from when the asylums got opened up about 40 years ago anymore. I think that they're just homegrown right inside of Discord. They pop out, they wriggle out like when Beetlejuice had the Beetlejuice baby pop out, and he's like covered in slime and walking on the ceiling. That's basically what Zoomers and Gen Alpha, a lot of them, and there was people of all ages in here, obviously, but all these people, I think in the internet generation forward, are basically like that. They just get their brains turned into straight up mush goo and just start slobbering all of themselves, and they end up falling into these crazy schemes and make themselves go crazy.
And unfortunately, it seems like these racist grifters who straight up just hate white people and want them exterminated, they say as much in the film, these people and mentally ill white people who fall for the grift, for some reason are allowed to like make the rules in society. And I think we are pushing back, and it has been swinging back on the other spectrum, but the fact that these like literal grifters, racist grifters, almost took over our culture for a decade is sickening. And I'm glad that they're finally getting exposed, but they're gonna keep having their race to dinner meetings and make that big money off of literal retards. So good for them. I guess they stay winning.
Yeah, and, obviously, as we mentioned, we're very fair and balanced. Matt Walsh, he does work for a very...
pro-Israel company. Yeah. Like, I don't love Daily Wire. I fucking hate them, too. Like, if the libtards made a movie going undercover to expose them, I'd watch it and enjoy it just as well. I wouldn't give it a half-star review without seeing it.
Yep, when Ben Shapiro is cackling over his, scale model of Palestine as it burns, he's sitting in the car...
Yeah.
I mean, that's how he sounded. Look up the clip of him doing the Joker laughing. I mean, I would probably stand in the theater and be like, get him out of here.
Yeah, so libtards, go make that movie, and we will support it just as much as this one. There's a big section about hoaxes in terms of hate crimes, and they really focus down on Jesse Smollett, which is a great example, and so many other of these things where basically every major story we've heard in the last 5-10 years ended up being fake as fuck. NASCAR guy hung a noose up in his own garage and said it was white people who did it. And I guess it doesn't really change anybody's opinion. Like, everybody gets pissed and says, oh, Whitey's evil, how dare they? Oh, it was made up by the black person to get attention? Fuck Whitey anyway.
Well, and I'll say from a cinematic perspective, so when he speaks with the guy who was exposing the hate crimes as hoaxes, it was allegedly an African-American man, I'm not sure 100%, but anyway, after he speaks with him in his woke character, he goes and it basically does this recreation. It intersperses between basically Matt Walsh as a Jussie Smollett, not blackface, but in the position he was allegedly in where he's jumped by these masked
he reenacts
guys.
the made-up story that Jussie Smollett gave.
And
to show how ridiculous it was.
Yeah. When it first started and he's walking around, I'm like, oh, he's about to go to the hood and survive a drive-by or something. I don't know what's... I wasn't sure. It kind of felt like the pace... at first, the energy was kind of because I kind of expected maybe there would be a preachy segment possibly in it where it would just be... And I thought maybe it would make sense to bounce to that after talking about the hoax statistics. I hope, it had a good momentum cinematically speaking, but then once Yeah, I realized that he was putting himself in the Jussie Smollett position, and they say, "Oh, they're kicking me in the back and punching me in the front and pouring bleach on me," and also,
and they magically threw a noose around my neck.
The noose just appeared around my neck when I closed my eyes and opened up, and there was a noose there, but they were gone. So, who was it? Dropped off a roof somewhere? Like somebody else was about to do it off the side of their roof. Well, we all know it was a complete hoax anyway. But
no, I believe that two guys walking at 2 a.m. wearing masks and carrying bleach and a noose just so happened to come across a famous actor and try to lynch him in the street. I believe that really happened.
And they allegedly yelled out his TV show multiple times when they were like hounding him before.
And he says, "I ain't respond to Empire. That ain't my name." Well, now you're not responding to anything because nobody will hire you. You lying, race-baiting bastard. Again, enjoy burning in hell where you belong. And then there's also a big section about how the real racism is like when white people smile at a black person, like that's a microaggression. So many hoaxes in terms of racial hate, and the only actual thing that can be proved is that white people smile at black people, and black people don't like that for some reason. Can you explain that? Why is it offensive to be smiled at, Iggy?
Well, from my understanding, having spent a lot of time on Black Twitter back in the day, basically, they see a sort of white smirk or like a white grimace, like a not a toothy smile. It's like they consider that to basically be like the new safe version of gripping your purse or locking. Like, I need to smile at this black person so they don't start robbing me.
So they know I'm friendly.
Yeah, but not too much that they're going to try to sell me a mixtape.
What does that say about black culture? Do they not smile at each other? Maybe they're just not used to like a stranger being friendly towards them. Like, is it only the white people that they have a problem with when it happens? Again, these grifters are inventing reasons to be victimized. Because if your version of victimhood is a white person smiled at me to make me comfortable, you don't deserve to breathe the same air as me. When the bitch who got paid way too much money to sit everybody in a circle, she like gave a whole speech about how I'm in physical danger. And Matt Walsh asked, "Wait, what are you talking about?" And she said, "I'm a black person in a mostly white space, so I feel like I'm in physical danger." And all the white retards are nodding, "Oh yeah, that makes sense to me." And Matt Walsh is like, "Hey, I want to speak for everybody right now. You are in no danger and you should feel perfectly safe." She kicks him out of the fucking room. Like, Jesus. Don't expose the grift, okay? The check is not cleared yet. And then finally, I guess Matt Walsh gives his workshop called Do the Work, and he's getting all the white people in there to educate them. And he brings in like a 60-year-old man actor who's like in a wheelchair.
He might have been like 70 maybe.
Okay, he's a very elderly man who's like not all the way there. He's like, kind of passed the fuck out in his wheelchair. Matt Walsh has him up in front of the class, and he says, "Yeah, Uncle Frank, 20 years ago at Thanksgiving, you told a joke. You said, what's the difference between a picnic table and a Mexican? A picnic table can support a family of 5. And then he says, "I just wanted to let you know." He's like screaming at an elderly man who's like has dementia and he's in a wheelchair. "That was not okay." And then he has like all the kids in the class like say, "Fuck you, Uncle Frank." And so, well, not really kids, these are all adults, but still. I thought that was very funny. Like just shitting on an old man because he made a racist joke 20 years ago.
And the funniest part to me is he has Ben, the black production assistant, wheel him in and out.
Yeah,
and as
like
he's wheeling him back out, he goes, "Thanks, Uncle Frank. I'll see you this weekend."
Yeah, lots of good, funny moments in here. Is there anything we're missing, Aggie? Did we cover the entire film?
Well, I guess we should mention too. First, it's towards the end, but also the very first scene of the film is him on like a talk show set, and allegedly these are real talk shows. He's
trolling like 6 a.m. local news shows that they do. Like, Morning Mimosa comes to mind from American Dad. He's like going on these, like 8,000 people are actually watching this at home, and he's trolling them, which is fine. It's Nathan For You did it pretty good a few times.
Yeah, but once I guess, can't remember what the exact website was, but yeah, whatever this website was that certified him as a DEI expert for $20, that's basically the only credentials he has. And they're just like, oh yeah, that's all right, yeah.
That's all you need. Yeah.
And, yeah, I guess nobody on these shows recognized him, but another part of that same roundtable, I think, which is like the initial thing we're exposed to for like, this is a real seminar, real workshop where a black woman is screaming at you for being a racist chud.
And for $20,000 for 1 hour.
He does kind of, maybe, I mean, that might be mentioned in that one critical review, but he kind of lays it on a little bit thick with like the grief, with like his grief, which he does kick him out of the room. They already had cameras set up in the room, so he walks out of the room to go to like the safe space,
the crying room, they say,
and everybody like gathers around a phone, and the narrate's like, turns out while I was gone, they realized that I was actually Matt Walsh, and so he comes back in, and they're like, I'm not safe, there's a chud, get him out.
They literally say like, Republicans are all Nazis, and I feel physically unsafe. Like the white people are saying this, I feel physically unsafe with you in the room. Like he's not threatening anybody at all. He's just sitting there talking. They can't handle it. They kick him out. So just pathetic, sad people all around. The movie made me lose my faith in humanity a little bit, but ultimately I think the side of sanity and common sense will win the day, and that hopefully this grift does not go on much longer. I heard a lot of companies are actually removing their DEI bullshit programs because it's just a waste of money, and businesses exist to make a profit, not to waste profit.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's still that almighty dollar, and they had this, I mean, for a long time there'd be people online that'd be like, oh, well, they'll just print more money. It's more important that they, get their grip on the culture than anything. And, well, maybe that was for a while, but I think, yeah, we're seeing at the point where whoever needs the money more, they're like, yeah, screw these people. We'll try it again maybe one day, but actually my money. So they just, firing all these online writers, replacing them with AI, firing all these everybody else. I mean, there's a lot of people getting fired for AI, but yeah.
So, Eggy, I know you're probably not going to get around to a Letterboxd review, but if you were, how many stars would you give this film?
Well, I hate to piggyback. I feel like 3 is pretty reasonable. I could maybe even do, I would say objectively, a 3. It was entertaining.
I was never bored in the movie.
Yeah.
He fills every moment in with something funny or something that'll make you sad.
Yeah, I think I would maybe even just a little bit of a personal preference. I might even elevate to like a 3.5, just because it's a unique thing. You don't really see films with this perspective.
With a conservative perspective, yeah, I'd say I've never seen a film in theaters like this since Dinesh D'Souza's Trump card.
Right. And we're conservative, not even in the, maybe sometimes more accepted way, like a forward military sort of atmosphere. This is something that's actually culturally critical in a way that resonates with people now in a ever increasing way. So, yeah, I would say all things considered, probably like an objective 3, but for me personally, I'd probably bump it to a 3.5.
Yeah, should we recommend anybody go see this now that we've explained the whole thing? Like, there is a little bit too much of Matt Walsh trolling people. I agree, again, with that review, but otherwise, I think you'll learn something. You'll get something out of it. You'll see what real racism looks like. And people who say you can't be racist against white people, I would recommend you watch this fucking movie because it seemed pretty damn fucking racist to me, saying that white people should not exist and should be exterminated, and that being white makes you brain dead. Stupid little Indian bitch. Is that it, Eggy? Are we?
Well, and I could also recommend it on the basis of I've been familiar with some of these DEI-esque schemes. I was mentioning, I think it was back in 2018, there was a Starbucks scandal where maybe somebody had overdosed in a Starbucks bathroom or something.
Homeless person.
And I listened to a guy named Frame Game Radio back at that time. He kind of went over the situation, and this was when it was all exposed to me because I'd never heard of this before. But essentially, there was like a multiple levels of people that exploited this, or would maybe even drum up something that wasn't even really there to begin with. But this was just a vulnerable opportunity they were able to exploit. where they forced Starbucks to basically, under the guise of public health, public safety, take on some of these diversity experts before DEI was really a thing, and it was mandated, I believe, for them to continue operating a business, and so it was almost a blank check for these grifters to do what they please with. I think they were charging them.
What's the logical connection here? A homeless person overdosed in a Starbucks bathroom, and that led to DEI. What's the connection?
I'm a little foggy on some of it because it's been a lot of years, but basically they said, this is like we need to go over I think the conduct of the employees in the situation might have had some sort of issue.
They wanted to get the homeless guy the fuck out of the store, and that was considered like racist, probably?
I think something like that, basically. So the way that I think the employees handled the situation was considered very offensive. So they said, in order for you to stay in business, we're going to mandate that you take this council of diversity on board so they could show you how to properly do it, and basically charge an exorbitant amount of money doing so. And I wish that's probably archived out there somewhere. If you look up Frame Game Radio Starbucks and look for something that's like 2018-ish dated, but it's just like on so many levels, like, oh, this guy knew this guy, this CEO knew this leader of this nonprofit activism group, he knew this guy who was a hedge fund manager or whatever, and it's so parasitic. But the idea is basically any way for them to use a social cause or use that as a front for them to enrich themselves financially, which
to trick a business into giving them a lot of money for nothing of value.
Yeah, pretty much. Which is probably what happened to a lot of these multimedia companies that had this tacked onto them in the last few years. And this film is very good about exploring that financial angle. So for those people who haven't ever been familiar with this kind of situation and how really toxic and pervasive it can be, I would say that in and of itself is an educational aspect that you would draw something from to see the film.
I think if you take away anything from this movie and this review, it should be, do not smile at black people. Like, they really hate that. Just don't be friendly at all. Just ignore them, I guess. Just don't give them any eye contact. Don't smile, because that's a microaggression. And white people should all be killed. And frankly, I agree with that part. Makes a lot of sense to me. So that's the latest Matt Walsh movie. Looking forward to what he brings out next. In my opinion, everything I've seen from him is better and better as it goes on. He went from a 2-star to a... Well, what did I give Lady Ballers? That was probably pretty low, but I don't remember.
I would say, I can't remember. Well, we did an Is It Kino on Lady Ballers. We did. I was outspoken of my enjoyment of the film. I know, again... Would
you say that this is better than Lady Ballers? Because I think this is his best work so far.
I think, I'll say overall it is. It was quirky, but not in the fictitious satire kind of way, because we have these people who are really awful that are really in the film and really exposing themselves as truly awful people. So I think that I would definitely put this at the top, all things considered, but guilty pleasure, I know that it was a little raunchy, it was a little crass, Lady Ballers, but both of these films, that and
What Is a Woman? Did you see What Is a Woman?
Yeah, I think well, I know I watched it at some point. I think we might have watched it here.
I reviewed it with the guy from Survivor who got kicked off because he exposed somebody as being trans, Jeff Varner, and I believe Florian was also there for that. So, like, what a world. Mumkey Jones, Jeff Varner, and Florian reviewed What Is a Woman. If you haven't seen that, go check out that episode. I'm sure there's some great little tidbits in there. I think that's it for today, though, Aggie.
I think so.
Matt Walsh, I'll say this, fuck the Daily Wire, fuck Israel, but keep making these funny comedy movies. I'm into them.
Can't go wrong with some good kino. That's all I ask for. It doesn't have to be any particular person or any type of way. Just bring the good to the table, and that goes for everything in life. Just like Matt Walsh, I won't judge you based on certain characteristics. Just make some kino, and I'll be happy to give you a thumbs up.
And if you want to join us on our One Piece journey, go subscribe to the Mumkey D. Jones YouTube channel. We're doing one volume of One Piece every week for the next 3 fucking years. So stay tuned on that. For Is It Kino, I've been Simian Jimmy.
And I have been certified DEI expert.
Peace, people.